marketing manager for NEMPA. And joining us today, we're really happy to have Laurie Kahn, the president and CEO of Media Staffing Network, here to do a short presentation and then also make herself available for questions. And George Stratellis, who is the director of verticals for Editor and Publisher Magazine. And I'm going to let George, probably like I said, why don't you start it off and kind of explain your whole thing, and I will be here to break in if there's anything in the chat that I need to make you guys aware of.
Sure. So the Media Job Board is a project of Editor and Publisher, the Poynter Institute, and America's Newspapers. And we've partnered with Media Staffing Network on the job seeker side to be more than just a job board, but a full service, comprehensive career site. And so Laurie's expertise is the whole picture of media hiring, and that's what she's going to speak to today. The main thing that we bring to the table with Media Job Board is programmatic ad buys, and I can address any questions about that during the Q&A. So I'll turn it over to Laurie.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody coming in. I just want to real quickly let you know why I feel like I'm able to talk to your needs on this. I am an sales manager in media. I've been doing this for 28 years. I work in large, small markets across the industry, across all different kinds of media. Most importantly, I am still on the streets every day talking to employers. So I really have a strong idea of what you need to do as an employer to bring people in. And those of you that are looking for jobs, help you get that as well. I will tell you, one of the biggest excuses I get for lack of talent acquisition is that they don't have time. Nobody has time to do it. But I want to tell you that one of the most important things you can do if you're going to be hiring, which it sounds like a lot of you are now, is you want to make managers accountable. You might want to tie recruitment into the compensation. Having a solid pipeline of people that are ready is going to be as important as having the right content out there. You want to manage and build a pipeline so that when you do have an opening, it's not going to take you months to fill it. We're going to talk, excuse me, I've got allergies out here. We're going to talk a little bit about a budget to cover your talent acquisition. That's one of the things, especially in the newspaper industry, I find that a lot of companies do not have any budget to cover talent acquisition. You want to really pay attention to how you bring people on and how they exit, because a lot of times people can come back. You want to make sure you're training all your managers who are involved in hiring, attracting, and onboarding of people. Obviously, it's very important nowadays to have a culture where people want to work and thrive and win. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And of course, right now we have a lot of attention being given to diversity and inclusion, which is important to have. So a lot of times I hear that, again, somebody, a hiring manager may not be able to list all the reasons why somebody should work for your company. So I want to really challenge all of you to understand what are all the good benefits of working in your industry, working at your company. You want to make sure, like I said, there's accountability, that they are planning to have so many interviews. If they wait to hire when somebody resigns, which is what we call reactive, it's going to take you a lot longer and you might not end up with the right person. Lastly, hiring managers don't know how to work with passive candidates. There's two types of candidates out there today. There's those job seekers that come to you, and then there's those people that are happy where they are, that you're going to have to go out just like you would a target account and lure them to come work with you. So let's talk a little bit about if you're going to have a talent acquisition budget. Statistics show you that the average cost to hire a skilled person today is 5 times of their salary. I've thrown in here signing bonuses as one of the things. Hopefully we don't have to do that for a while. The last year we've gone on a major swing. We've gone from having a really low unemployment where you couldn't attract somebody to having obviously a lot of unemployed people. So just knowing that your average cost to hire in the United States for an unskilled worker is roughly about $4,100. So if you have a high turnover and you have 10 people turnover, you can kind of figure out where you kind of need to go with your budget. But I've made a listing here of a lot of different things that are going to need attention with a budget. You might not have the right culture. You may be needing to do more virtual career fairs. You may get, if you're lucky, to get somebody to relocate, which is very, very hard to do today. That could be something you want to look at. But, you know, before you hire, you really are going to need to do some homework. And one of the things I struggle with media companies every single day, they think they can hire their clone. They don't want to hire out of the box. Well, some of you might be in smaller or mid-sized markets. You may not have a large labor pool. You may have a situation where you don't have any other media to go after to steal from. So I really challenge you to really look at your job profile. You know, we did a project with Google several years ago, and at that point, every single person that went to Google had to have a minimum of a 3.5 GPA. Well, you know, I deal a lot with ad sales, and you know the joke, ad sellers aren't necessarily brain surgeons. So, you know, we really need to look is what's really important about what we need. Do they need to have a college degree? You know, what kind of experience? Many of us are in our dreams trying to think what the perfect candidate is. But when we do that, we're limiting how many people can apply. So again, the broader range you can look at, you're going to get a larger pool. It's also going to help you bring in a more diverse audience. You need to know about your local labor pool. Again, you may not be able to steal from your industry. So who in your market is bringing people in? Do you have a large insurance company, medical? You know, I would get in and talk to their HR people because a lot of them have spouses or kids that are looking for work. Find out what the cost of living is. You want to make sure when you are hiring people today that they are able to make a living wage. I think the days of bringing people in and giving them a 90-day security and then jumping them over to 100% commission is gone. So you need to know what is the going rate in your market. And that you can find out for your industry. And again, make sure that if you're going to be paying somebody a secure period, they have measurable goals. It might not just be tied to bringing in revenue. It could be they need to accomplish X amount of training, or they need to go on so many calls. But you want to have measurable goals at all times to make sure somebody is moving ahead. You want to create a story, because a lot of times, keep in mind, we're not just interviewing the candidates, they're interviewing us too. And it's very competitive to hire the right quality of person. So you want to share, what's your mission? Why has your company been around? You know, what's made it succeed through the tough times? What's your culture like? How do you celebrate different cultures? How do you take care of people? Does everybody feel like they have an open voice? So again, talk about your culture. How you help the community. A lot of you have come to me and said, I really need to hire, you know, from the younger generation, where, you know, a lot of our team is you know, boomers or one level below. So, you know, one of the things you need to do is talk about how you help the community. What kind of drives have you done? What kind of charity support? A lot of times we don't necessarily share it. We do it, but we don't let the community know how we're helping them. It might even be a wonderful story about how you've had a client that you've helped build their business, which in return helps the community. Younger generation is very, very into giving back. Onboarding to me is when the first day you're open for business. It's your story, it's your reputation, how you treat people, how you attract them, versus just orientation time. But you want to really talk about, you know, what have you done to attract people? And then once they're interested and they sign the dotted line, what are you doing to ensure them success? You want to talk about how you've promoted people, how your training has helped somebody grow. You know, maybe you've had somebody on your team that's grown up to be a group publisher or something along that line. So again, share that. You also want to be as transparent as possible. They don't want surprises. When I see a job profile come through that's 3 lines long, I'm like, oh boy, they're missing it. Nowadays, you want to tell everybody up front what's expected. This is the training tools we invest in. This is what your training is going to look like. This is how long it should take you to get your first order. You know, again, let them know so there's no surprises. The reason you see so much turnover with people that are, in their first month. Somehow that story of how you treat people and how you train them didn't quite get, communicated correctly, and people are finding a surprise, and they don't want to be surprised. You want to really be upfront. Share every expectation with them. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about building a pipeline. You want to make sure somebody's in charge of working it. That accountability is crucial. It's no different than your publisher having a list of target accounts and making sure they're being contacted. This works the same way. Obviously, I always have to put a caveat in that any kind of job profile, you want to make sure your HR department or legal has approved it. So let's talk about creating a pipeline. You want to identify your long-term goals and needs. And like I said, a lot of our skills have changed in the last year. You may be having people that are working remote. Maybe they need to know how to work different platforms. Maybe you've combined some positions. So maybe they've changed and they need different skills. So I'm a big believer of reviewing and adapting your job profiles every year. You want to also look at a candidate sourcing strategy. Are you doing a diverse outreach? Are you reaching all different markets within your community, different neighborhoods? And are you doing realistic sourcing? Are you just, doing to get the word out? Are you really trying to get some good quality people in there? Once you have prospects, you want to establish contact with them and start building that relationship. Again, I've been reading some figures, and if 200 people apply for a job, probably 2 to 3 will get interviewed. So, if you have numerous jobs open, you're going to need to see what kind of numbers you need in your pipeline. So you need to see, are you attracting the right people? If you're not, then what's wrong? Maybe it's your job ad, maybe it's your job posting, maybe, you're giving too much information up front, but you may want to review, why are you not bringing in the right prospects? You may have prospects in your pipeline and no job open, and that's a very common situation. You want to build that relationship and keep nurturing it and building it. I had one manager tell me after identifying a candidate, it took them 4 years to actually get the person signed on. So again, it can take some time. You want to make sure you've got ongoing training and development. And sadly, when the economy went south, the first thing that went was training. And I will tell you, it is one of the most important things you can have, but you also want to make sure that your training and development is current. Who's teaching it? Is it a sales manager or a publisher or somebody that has not been on the streets, for 20 years? Or is it somebody that really has their hands in and understands the challenges of today? So really review who's doing your training. And again, you also want to keep these people warm. You want to build a relationship with them. Now, you guys are probably going to all say, oh my gosh, she's so one-sided with this. Right now, candidate experience is a big priority. People want to know they're going to go to work for a company that treats them well. They want to be respected. They want to know how it's going to grow their career. You're going to want to try and remind your employees on a regular basis why all the great reasons are to work for you. A lot of times people take it for granted, but some things you can do, obviously. One of the things I find when I'm visiting a lot of, especially the newspaper industry, I'm not seeing a lot of career pages on websites. And that is really an important page to have. And you also want to include your diversity statement in there. You need to have up-to-date social media profiles. LinkedIn, Facebook, Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a very important one to be staying on top of. You want to make sure you've got really good reputation and that there's no past disgruntled employees slamming you. We've discussed transparency and expectations. It's important to have a really positive reputation and happy employees. You might want to support volunteerism. That's also another big thing that the younger generations want. People want to know that they're going to be able to grow. They also want to know how they're going to fit in. If you have a team of all boomers and you're going to bring in one Gen X or millennial, how are they going to fit in? What are you going to do to make sure that they're welcome, they're able to be heard, and so forth? So again, those are very important things to look at when adding to your teams. Now, this is one that I think I make people mad, but you don't want to use the word sales in your job postings. It's, believe it or not, got a negative connotation. people think sales is sitting on the phone, cold calling, and getting hung up on all day long. They don't necessarily understand what is involved in sales. I do a lot of speaking where I'm engaged with soon-to-be recent grads and recent grads. They're scared to death of that word. So you might want to talk a little bit more about what the job actually does. Here's some different examples of what we've seen. But again, when I am working with a client and I've got a sales job open, I'm very careful not to use the word sales, because again, I want to open a really wide area for potential job seekers. When you're building a job profile, and this is probably one of the hardest things, we all have a tendency to look at the person and try and write the job description for that person. We really want to have the job profile made for the job and not the person. So I look at a couple different things. You're going to have a job profile that's internal. You want internally as much information as possible. Who are they going to report to? What are their daily, weekly, monthly duties? What are their expectations? What are their measurable goals not tied to revenue? Skills, training, what kind of entertainment is expected of them. Now, you might take that then, and when I do a job description for hiring, sometimes mine is 2 or 3 pages long. I may need to try and relocate someone. In that case, I want to do an industry overview, because again, I might be looking outside of the media. I want to talk about the market, the company. Why would people want to live in this city? What is there to do? Is there good health care? Is there good culture? Is there out-of-door activities? Low cost of living? Everything that's on your internal job profile needs to be on that. You want to really lay out in writing what their support and training plan is to get them up to speed. Share what invested tools you have. And again, you always want to have that you're an equal opportunity employer. Now, we take it as a professional recruiter a step further, and we don't post a lot of times the total job description. What we may do is put a job posting. So, our rules for job postings are no more than 250 words. You want to share comments that are provable versus promises. You never want to just give promises. We're actually seeing a lot more video postings, so don't rule those out. But share what you can do that can embrace everyone so more people can apply. So here's one example. Our employees enjoy a flexible schedule. Flexible is a big hot word right now. Strong support, hands-on training, and an opportunity for growth. Recently, we invested in updated online training and upgraded all employees' computer programs. We made sure that while working at home, they had all the support and tools they needed to succeed. We even hosted company-wide socials via Zoom to keep all connected. So that's a nice way to, it doesn't talk about the job you have open. It's more of a branding, which you can be doing on a regular basis. Here's another example. If you'd like to work in an ever-changing, fast-paced industry for a respected leadership team, again, leadership is very important. Competitive compensation, benefits with a caring family-like culture, things that our job seekers ask all the time. If you're a creative thinker, like to help the community and enjoy meeting and working with local businesses, we should talk. Marketing background's a plus. Again, very easy, doesn't talk about the job. I want to cast that wide net. Now, I mentioned briefly to you the difference between job seekers and passive candidates. Obviously, a job seeker is who's going to apply to your job, but I don't want you to stop there. If you really want to hire the best, you're going to have to go after passive candidates, just like your targeted accounts. 81% of employees would consider leaving their jobs for the right offer. I'm going to share a story. We had an opportunity open in northern Wisconsin, and it was a really unique opportunity where somebody actually wanted somebody to come in and really buy their company out. We identified a person in another state. It took us 8 calls to him to get his attention. He now owns the company. So again, you've got to think about, how often are you going to have to reach out and reiterate once you've identified somebody? So think about it. But again, that excellent corporate reputation is really going to pay off. So that's why I encourage you to let your community, let your industry know how good of an employer you are. Now, I, of course, want to share the best way to reach job seekers. Online job boards, yay, Media Job Board, most popular way to reach. We've got some high growth in some other areas. Friends, 45%, social media, 42%, and that is growing, and professional connections. As a recruiter, I usually tell people that 94% of jobs are found through word of mouth. So that's why it's important to get the word out. And again, keep in mind that 18% of job seekers are going to apply from a mobile device. So that's why it's so important to have a mobile-friendly application, which obviously we offer that for you. So you want to make sure you're designing search engine-friendly, job ads and career pages. You want to have relevant keywords and use images and videos as much as possible when trying to reach the younger generation. So in review, you want to really think about promoting your company and not just your jobs. It's a lot about branding. You want to make sure your messages are adjusted so they're not the same thing over and over, or it's going to make you sound like you're desperate. Whenever your company's involved, be sure to discuss why people like working for you. If you're at an event, if you're at a lunch and learn, anywhere you're around a different group of people, make sure you're sharing all the good reasons, maybe even have a brochure. Your employees are your best advocates, so you want to make sure they're happy. Use referral programs, have them out there talking you up. And I know we're taught not to brag, but this is times when I encourage you to brag about what you do for the community, your clients, and you can find out a lot of great information through surveys using some social media. And I know I've covered a lot of information, but I want to jump in when we've got a few minutes left here and see what kind of questions we may have.
Tara, do we have any questions?
Sorry, I doing double duty here, just getting another session started. I don't have any questions as of yet. Does anyone have any questions for Laurie or George about staffing or the Media Job Board project? This is your chance to pick their brains.
Well, I will tell you also that not only do we help job seekers through the Media Job Board, but if you are an employer and you're looking to hire and you need help with either redesigning a job profile or you need actual help, maybe you're not getting the right response, we do have a partnership with the Media Job Board to do that. And if you're on the employer's pages, you can see some of those options. But it really is important to have the right verbiage out there when you're trying to target people. Well, on that note, I thank all of you for spending your lunch with us. I hope you enjoyed it. And if there's any questions that George or I can answer, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you again for your time and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, George and Laurie. And we'll be providing contact info for you to everyone after the event. So again, thank you. And join us this afternoon, everyone, for the rest of the sessions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.